Good morning. My name is Brian Stuppy. I'm an astrologer in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And this is a presentation about the 2046 Uranus Pluto opposition and cultural evolution. And you can find me at brianstuppy.com. I want to acknowledge right off the top that this presentation was inspired by one of my teachers, Rick Tarnas. I studied with him at California Institute of Integral Studies a few years ago, and his book, Cosmos and Psyche, which is a modern presentation of astrology to modern academia. So this presentation is about a future alignment. In 2046, the two planets Uranus and Pluto will come into an opposition, 180-degree opposition. We call it a full moon. And this presentation is a shift into astrology's emphasis, which has been always to look at the past and then find correlations on what has happened in the past. And this video is preparation, is wanting to get people to think about using astrology to prepare for the future and future changes, and putting it into our conscious decision making each day, and kind of consciously watching events in our lives and in the world, constantly knowing that in 2046, which is 20 years from now, because this is actually April 4th, 2025. And today, the actual world is going through an explosion of global trade adjustments. And it is actually, you can actually relate that to the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that's forming right now, similar to the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that formed in 1989 when the Berlin Wall fell and the Soviet Union dissolved. So here, what's happening is there's tariff walls being built up, and there's a complete configuration change in our global relationships. So this video is going to try to get people to think about what's going to happen in 20 years when Uranus and Pluto come into a significant 180-degree opposition. And my vision is, with Cosmos and Psyche and Dr. Tarnas, he presents an unbelievable presentation of what's happened through history related to astrological alignments. What I want to do is shift and actually use this knowledge that we've never had before, this unbelievable technology of, we know what's going to happen. We've known before what's going to happen in the future, but now it's at our fingertips. We can see in 3,000 years from today, within 3 minutes, I can show it to you what's going to happen. We've never had that before. And if we can consciously integrate this into our cultural awareness and decision making, I think we can use it as a tool. That's my hope. And so with Uranus and Pluto, their configurations, and again, Dr. Tarnas goes over it extensively in his book, Cosmos and Psyche. Encourage everybody to read that. Uranus has been shown to be about innovation and revolution, and Pluto about transformation and rebirth. And Dr. Tanis notes that when these two planets are in quadrature alignment in history, and they explode into human culture as personal and political revolutions, transformations, and evolutionary leaps. Two of these examples, but there's many more. So with the quadrature alignments, it's a conjunction when the two planets come together, when they come to a 90-degree alignment called a square, or a full moon, 180 degree. What's noted is when these two planets, and not only these two, but others also, come into these configurations, there's a manifestation of energy that happens. So it happened in the French Revolution, when Uranus and Pluto were in 180-degree opposition. There was the French Revolution, and they overthrew the king. And then there was an explosion of individual freedom and tolerance across the global human culture. And then in the 60s, there was also an explosion of civil rights and independence movements across the human globe. So here's a chart of the French Revolution, and you can see that Uranus was in Leo, and then Pluto was in Aquarius, and they were at 180-degree opposition. And the French Revolution exploded, and then the whole world exploded in a revolution. And the note is in 20 years, in 2046, these two planets are going to be in opposition again. And I always thought, what could have happened if 10 to 20 years before that, the people in the world knew this was something was going to happen in the early 1790s. And that's what I'm trying to do, is raise consciousness for everybody who watches this, that we can keep it in mind in our daily lives, and hopefully it will reflect in institutions that we're involved with, and countries, and in politics. So that's the French Revolution. And then in 1965, they were in a conjunction, September 1965, October, in Virgo. And it's I would say it's common knowledge that the 60s were a transformative decade in so many areas: civil rights, human rights, revolutions against and independence movements. There's many more though, but those are the two I wanted to point out. And then again, in September 2046, Uranus and Pluto are going to be in opposition. They come exact in 2046. Dr. Tarnas notes like 15 to 20 degrees before they come into exact, events start manifesting. So within 2 or 3 years, or before and after, 3 or 4, 5 years before and after, there's going to be a manifestation of events that have the theme of what happened in the 1960s and the French Revolution. If people who are watching this can think about future possibilities, that some of the themes that happened in the 1960s and the French Revolution in the 1790s, it could be shift toward collective consciousness, shared global values, potential movements toward global cooperation and ecological responsibility. Future possibilities in technology, explosions and breakthroughs in political innovations, healthcare, ecological innovation, vision of peaceful global cooperation between all cultures, balance between rich and poor, utility of technology to advance human cultural evolution. Things to think about. All of these energies are going to manifest, not that they're not manifesting now, but there's a lot of, but if we know that in 21 years, 20 years, 18 years, it's really going to come to a head, that we can keep our thoughts on that and act in ways that will help to manifest that. And then this is, so preparing for 2046, personal and collective action. The advance of astrology is that now we have an instantaneous knowledge of all future planetary alignments. This is completely novel in human cultural history, in that we had a knowledge before, but it's really just in the last 50 years that we're able to bring it to our fingertips with technology. Before, scientists used to have to write it out and do calculations by hand. So the technology is a tremendous advancement. And then we integrate this awareness immediately into all our personal and collective decisions, and it can lead to constructive use of these cosmic themes we know will burst forth in the years surrounding the Uranus Pluto opposition of 2046. So that is my presentation. You can find me at brianstuppy.com. I'm an astrologer. And this is the first of a series of presentations with a focus on future planetary alignments, including Saturn, Neptune, Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, Uranus, as well as Uranus, Pluto. So thank you very much. And I hope you go to my website and find out more about me. Thank you very much.